In a small village in feudal Japan, there lived an unfortunate little girl with her stepfather after her mother had died from illness, and her real father had perished in a work accident. The cruel stepfather cared nothing for her, treating her only as a servant in the house. Every day, she bore the heavy burden of chores, cooking, washing, even doing laundry for neighbors in exchange for food. The ruthless man never lifted a finger himself, forcing the child to handle everything. The only task she was not yet strong enough to do was drawing water from the deep well, since the bucket was too heavy and had to be poured into a larger container to carry back to the village. Her life was endless days of hardship, devoid of affection, trapped in darkness and loneliness, an ominous beginning to a terrifying tale. One gloomy day, as the girl and her stepfather went to draw water, he suddenly noticed a glittering hairpin at the bottom of the pail. It was an exquisite ornament made of fine metal and set with shining stones. Greed immediately consumed him, and he imagined a treasure trove hidden beneath the well. With cruel, covetous eyes, he ordered the girl to descend into the darkness and search for more. The child trembled with terror at the thought of confined, pitch-black spaces, but too afraid to resist, she climbed into the bucket. As she was lowered down, the handle suddenly snapped, sending her plunging into the abyss. She miraculously survived, but quickly realized her stepfather cared nothing for her safety, only for treasure. He demanded she search and send it up, promising to pull her out afterward. Knowing full well he would abandon her, she defied him, insisting he come down if he wanted riches. Enraged, he tried to climb into the well himself, but the rope broke, and before her horrified eyes, he plummeted headfirst into the water, his neck snapping in an instant. Terror mixed with grim relief within her heart, but she sensed this tragedy was only the beginning. After the horrific death of her stepfather, the girl sat trembling at the bottom of the well, her heart pounding with dread. Part of her felt relieved to be freed from his abuse, yet another part was haunted by the gruesome sight. His lifeless eyes stared wide open, fixed upon her as if determined to drag her down with him. Fighting to stay calm, she tried climbing, but the slippery walls made escape impossible. She cried out for help, but only cold echoes returned from the depths. As night fell, darkness swallowed her. Icy winds chilled her skin, and exhaustion crushed her spirit. Tears streamed down her face, but when she looked again, she saw his dead face twisted into a grotesque smile. In her terrifying hallucination, he whispered, "You will die here. Then we will be together forever." Screaming, she kicked his face with all her might, only to see his corpse fall still again, unmoving beneath the blood-tinged water. More desperate than ever, she vowed to survive. That night, she could not sleep, plagued by swarms of insects crawling across her face and body. The cold and fear gnawed at her relentlessly, but she clung to one thought. If she could endure until morning, perhaps someone passing by would hear her cries. At dawn, when the first rays of sunlight pierced the well, she summoned what little strength remained and shouted for help. Miraculously, a passing man heard her faint cries. He rushed over, peered down, and saw the trembling child. "Are you all right?" he called. "I'm fine. Please save me," she pleaded desperately. Quickly, the man secured a strong rope, lowered it, and helped her tie it around her waist. With steady effort, he pulled her to safety. Reaching the surface, she collapsed in sobs, unable to believe she had escaped death. In his warm embrace, she felt, for the first time in years, truly safe. The kind man gently comforted her, assuring her that everything would now be fine. With deep gratitude, she looked at him as though he were her savior. But her fragile hope shattered the moment her eyes fell upon his wagon. Inside lay heavy, lumpy sacks, beneath which she discerned horrifying shapes that resembled human bodies. A shiver of dread tore through her, fear rising sharper than before. She suddenly wished she were back at the bottom of the well, for though terrifying, it had not hidden such cruel malice. Escaping one hell did not mean freedom. It might only mean stepping into another nightmare. Through the endless night in the cold, damp well, the girl had nearly lost all hope. The slick walls defeated every attempt to climb out. The icy draft cut into her thin body, and the crawling insects filled her with both horror and disgust. Surrounded by fear and exhaustion, she still whispered to herself that she must endure. If she could hold out until morning, perhaps someone would come. That night was torment, but it also sparked a fragile ember of hope. When the first light of dawn reached the bottom, she cried out once more. This time, fortune answered. A stranger passing by heard her cries and threw down a rope. She tied it tightly and was pulled to the surface. Her legs shook so violently she could barely stand, tears of relief flooding her face as she clung to her rescuer. For the first time, she felt embraced, safe, and protected. The gentle man told her she was safe now. But the comfort was short-lived. Her gaze drifted to his wagon, where heavy sacks were stacked, their bulging forms grotesque. Recognition struck. Perhaps they hid corpses. The man's kind smile now seemed sinister. Terror surged once more, fiercer than her ordeal in the well. Her heart clenched, wishing she had remained in the darkness, for what awaited her outside was a nightmare in disguise. After realizing the horror hidden within the wagon, her heart froze. The man who had rescued her was no longer a savior, but a new threat, more terrifying than the well itself. The fleeting sense of safety dissolved, replaced with dread and despair. She knew her fate was still bound to shadows, and thus another tragedy was about to unfold, leading the tale into a new, chilling chapter.